Good afternoon. Welcome to those of you in church, and welcome to each of you watching online as well. This is our regular weekly lunchtime reflection. I'm Catherine Waddams. I'm a licensed lay minister here at St. Peter Mancroft. And today I'd like to talk about bullying and kindness. Bullying has been in the news recently, especially around the demanding behaviour of Dominic Raab. Although he resigned as Deputy Prime Minister last week, he disputes whether he had bullied people, or rather had just demanded high standards, and he produced an accusation that the people he worked with wanted to subvert the government's objectives. Having worked a fair bit with civil servants and government and regulators, my own interpretation is that there is an almost inevitable friction between politicians, whatever their persuasion, who come with a vision of what they want to achieve in any particular sphere, and the experience of those civil servants who have worked for much longer in the area, energy in my case, or immigration, or national finances, and may have a clearer idea of what the challenges in delivering policy might be. In church circles, it's said that the most depressing response to a clergy initiative is, "Oh yes, Vicar, we've tried that already and it doesn't work here." Good policy, I think, must result from a combination of both vision, often from someone coming new to the situation with fresh eyes, and practicality from the people who are more familiar with the area. Both these perspectives are important to make inspired and effective policy, whether that's in government or church communities or anywhere. But the process can be very frustrating for both parties. These recent events have made me wonder whether I was too demanding in my own role as founder and director of research centres. Since our work was supported by other people's money and resources, I felt I had a particular duty to show that we were using it responsibly. We'd been funded to undertake independent research into how the energy market does, or in many cases doesn't, work, and the effect of government and regulator policy on different households and groups. I was rightly expected to justify the funding in advance and to demonstrate the findings afterwards. The funder, whether that was government and regulator itself or private sector, may not want to hear these findings, but I believe that policy is improved by the knowledge, and that I had a duty to explain and publish the findings and account afterwards for how the money was spent. This is partly what lies behind the current discussions over the stress caused by Ofsted inspections. How to ensure that public money is spent to provide the best education and opportunities for each young person, a really crucial and central part of our own society. Delivering the output promised to funders, including you, the taxpayer, thank you very much for your generosity over the years, required teamwork from individuals, each of whom brought different skills. They were often postgraduate students or newly qualified postdoctoral researchers in their first academic job. Each person brought their own gifts, their own strengths, but also their own vulnerabilities. And each needed a different combination of oversight and encouragement. I know that I myself can contribute in any circumstance most effectively when my own abilities and limitations are appreciated. Looking back, I do hope I got the balance right, and that what I know was my demand for high standards was not at the cost of anybody's self-esteem. Do high standards necessarily have to be bruising for those who are being asked to deliver them? We know the Ofsted process causes immense stress to teachers and senior leadership in schools, and to governors too, from my own experience. Can high standards and accountability be positive rather than destructive? Christians might look to Jesus as an example for some guidance, while recognizing, of course, the different circumstances of an itinerant Palestinian preacher 2,000 years ago from where we are now. But we see different images in the Gospels. One of these is of a gentle Jesus, meek and mild, urging people to put up with abuse. In the words of Luke's Gospel, "Love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you. To one who strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also, and from one who takes away your cloak, do not withhold your tunic either. Give to everyone who begs from you, and from one who takes away your goods, do not demand them back. And as you wish that others would do to you, do so to them." This doesn't sound like standing up to bullies. But Jesus wasn't always soft. He seemed to be quite rude to his family on several occasions, to his mother when she suggested he help out at the wedding in Cana, to his whole family in asking, "Who is my mother and who are my brothers?" Jesus was pretty sharp with his disciples too, as they struggled to understand his radical message. He often challenged particularly established power structures. For example, when he criticized the hospitality of his host Simon, contrasting it with the woman who washed his feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. And there was certainly nothing wimpish about Jesus' trial and death, which we've recently recalled in Holy Week. He challenged power, including that of Pilate, the man sentencing him to death, saying, "You would have no authority over me at all, unless it had been given you from above." So what can we learn about power and leadership and community from these examples? There have been many books written about leadership, including Christian leadership, in a more contemporary context. They always seem to be on display at airports for some reason. We don't fly much these days, so I'm not sure whether they're still there. Many of my colleagues in the business school spend their academic lives studying different models of leadership. My own very amateur take is that Jesus' model is demanding, as it is for each of us and the lives that we live in his discipleship, but includes understanding, mercy, forgiveness. It is demanding, but kind. And the opposite of bullying seems to me to be summed up in that word, kindness. Rather like rejecting the sin but loving the sinner, Jesus models high standards, tempered, a wonderful word, tempered with kindness. Or perhaps we could call it love, as described by Paul, which wants the well-being of the person we are interacting with, not their shame, not their belittling. This in itself is a demanding model for each of us to achieve. But I think we can aspire to and achieve high standards within communities and as individuals with that attribute of kindness. Safeguarding courses provided and required by the Church of England, which can sometimes seem like a bit of a chore, remind us about some basic aspects of interaction with other people, including identifying bullying behavior in ourselves as well as others. Our accountability for ensuring high standards includes achieving them in a way which helps each person involved to flourish. So within a community, how could we reduce bullying behavior? Do we turn the other cheek if we feel we are being bullied, or challenge the behavior? If we observe it, should we intervene or try to move on rapidly to calmer waters? Emotions tend to be churned up by such behavior, so as we are feeling deeply unsettled, it is often difficult to know what is best to do. I think it depends so much on the circumstances, including whether the context is a public or a private one. The variety of Jesus' own responses itself suggests that different reactions may be appropriate at different times. But some principles may be useful to remember and to put into practice. I found an interesting pledge for young people, which is copied into the YouTube page for this reflection. I guess that most children do experience bullying in the playground, either directly or through observing it. This pledge for children seems a fine approach for each of us, as individuals, whatever our age, and communities, as we set our own high standards to be welcoming and inclusive to everyone. Let's make it our own. Here it is. I promise that I will support others who have been hurt or harmed, treat others with kindness, be more accepting of people's differences, and help include those who are left out.